Hi, everybody. It's Julene with JovesStar Astrology. Welcome back to the channel. I hope you guys are doing well. I'm going to talk about the new moon in Scorpio. Yep, it's a couple of days after the new moon, but that's okay. I might get less views, but the new moon in Scorpio is definitely still at play here and out there in the cosmic world. So hopefully I can lend a perspective here to all of you. Maybe it's a little different than what you've seen. I'm sure you've checked it out. But we'll give it a shot here. Thanks so much. If you are a loyal returning subscriber, I really appreciate your patience. The weekend was a little nutty for me. How was it for you? We are going to, this is new moon in Scorpio, right? Came through November 1st. So this past Friday, very early in the morning here in the United States, 5:46 a.m. where I'm at. And at that time, the West Coast was still on the same time, but since just this past Sunday, yesterday, the United States daylight savings time backed down. So now the West Coast is an hour behind and the East Coast is 2 hours behind. But at the time of this new moon, it was 3 hours ahead and the same time for the West Coast. So if you're on the East Coast, this happened on Friday at 8:46 a.m. in the morning. So an early morning new moon in the sign of Scorpio. And it's a very exciting time right now. A time of profound change, right? And that's what Scorpio represents, is deep, profound change and transformation. Nothing superficial about Scorpio at all. And my Scorpio friends, they know that. They will tell you that. If you have Scorpio placements, you feel that. And this new moon is a new beginning. That is centered around deep change and transformation of an emotional nature, right? Scorpio is a fixed water sign, and fixed signs don't change easily. So this is really when we deal with Scorpio events, we're talking about digging deep, but deep into our emotional depths. So it's something that that you could be feeling. It's very much feeling, and it can be painful to actually experience a catharsis that is pushing us to change something that is so deeply ingrained in us, as well as even in society in general. And I think we're coming up on events that will show us either individually, if this is affecting you in your chart, but definitely collectively. So we're going to take a look at the chart, and we're going to take a look at the Sabian symbol. Definitely, I'm going to do that first. But before I go into the Sabian symbol, please like, subscribe, share the video. Trying to boost my subscribers here if I can do that, and I would greatly appreciate your help in accomplishing that. And if you need a personal reading, if you want to take a look at where this new moon is affecting you, and keeping in mind that, the new moon is a time for a new beginning. Sometimes it comes along with endings, especially if we're talking about the sign of Scorpio. But the new moon events will present themselves between now and the time of the full moon, but they can unfold over a longer period of time. So when this new moon turns into a full moon in about 6 months' time, we may see the full flowering effect or of what was going on in this, around this new beginning that we are setting intentions for, or things that just kind of, presented themselves to us. So we've got some time here to work on this this Scorpio new moon project. And yeah, so if you need some guidance there, you can get a hold of me. My email is down below, and my website is down below. You can send a message through my website, or you can shoot me an email, and I'll get back to you. Okay, so the Sabian symbols, right? We have this new moon here at 9 degrees, 35 minutes of Scorpio. And when we look at the Sabian symbols, we're going to round up. 9 degrees is a Sagittarius degree. So this is about universal law, potentially. It's about truth. It's about learning, right? Discovering. It's actually about change that that stands on something, right? That stands on something that we really want to see grow into a place that maybe helps us capture our independence, or allows us to maintain some kind of sovereignty, or definitely truth in whatever situation that we are dealing with, right? Isn't it interesting that we have an election coming up tomorrow? And Sagittarius, ruled by Jupiter, is the rising sign of the United States. And this is a Sagittarius degree. So it kind of makes me wonder if, we aren't going to be looking at some really deep-seated issues, and doing some brainstorming, and just kind of soul searching, looking deep inside us in the fabric and the structures of our society and of our lives, when it comes to what we want to do, how we want to maintain our independence and our truth during this time. So we shall see, right? Okay, so when we look at it, 9 degrees, 35 minutes, but we round up for the Sabian symbol. And I'm going to read just a few things from this book that I usually read from. But I want to read from the other book that I use on occasion as well. But the Sabian symbol is a fellowship supper. Keyword is fraternity. Theme, mutual support. Accent on intimate gatherings and close friends. Keywords would be community, human services, brotherhood, fraternity, camaraderie, companionship, friendship, association, togetherness, mutual support, communion, and common bond. Oops, I just lost that book. That's okay, because I'm done with it for now. All right. This book that I like to use sometimes, it's called the Zodiac by Degrees. It gives a little bit more modern, updated take on the Sabian symbols, which I like. This book says, having a strong sense of the way things should be, which one imposes on one's surroundings, being authoritative versus being authoritarian, issues of discipline, preserving old values without sacrificing the goodwill of the group, trying to meet people halfway rather than ordering them around like children, asserting one's individuality while respecting the established hierarchy within one's group, negotiating or arguing about social or political rules, want to rise in the hierarchy and gain an official title, resent having to subordinate their will to others, taking responsibility for the well-being of the group, restructuring organizations along more functional lines, clarifying duties and responsibilities, promoting orderliness and mutual respect, cultivating a rich family life, parenting. So this talks about coming together and discussing how we create change. How do we do that while respecting the traditions and the history that we've always experienced or that we believe in, while realizing that we need to move forward and update our ideals and the things that we believe in and our processes and structures, so that we can progress into the future, so that we can be more inclusive in some way. And so this Sabian symbol suggests that we do that by coming together with like-minded people, and really looking at the deep-seated issues, what needs to change and transform, and what can we do to make that happen without throwing the baby out with the bathwater, right? And it's interesting that Pluto is moving into Aquarius, back into Aquarius on November the 18th, where that's what we will be doing, is coming together as a people to figure out how we can work together as a community to create change, to progress as humans, right? And the Pluto at its 29th degree in the sign of Capricorn is ending an era of tradition, right? It's like traditions have to change, and we are seeing a breakdown of that. And we have been seeing a breakdown of how those traditions have not worked well for us in many ways, but also realizing that there will be something left behind, even if just in our minds, right? Or just ingrained in, habitually, into our society, of what we were able to do standing on firm, solid ground. And maybe that's not much, but right now the universe says it's time to move into something new. We have to transform those societal structures, and we do that through coming together as human beings in our communities. And so this Sabian symbol is saying, well, this is a new beginning, and each and every one of us will probably have a little piece of that change that affects us personally. It's going to be something that we are driven or passion towards becoming involved in, right, based on our experience. And it's going to be different for everybody, but now is the time during this period of change where Pluto is working with us to move past the old and work towards a plan that can move us into the future. If there's something that is in your life, or there's some kind of a burning desire that you have, that you want to become involved with, or people that you're connected with or reconnecting with even, now's the time to pull those people together and throw those seeds out there, begin those processes. And because there are many of them, and each and every one of us can participate in some way. So now's the time that if there's something that you're involved with that you want to see change and you can contribute, or something you're picking back up, now's the time to pull the right people together. Whether you're the person that's leading it, or you're the person that hears about that and says, oh yeah, this really resonates with me, this is what I want to do. Now's the time to do that. For sure. Okay, we're going to take a look at the chart and kind of break down what all of this means, and how interesting this time period is, and how important this period of change and transformation is for all of us. We can see it in the astrology, right? So let's take a look. So first of all, we'll just take a look here at the new moon in Scorpio, right? 9 degrees, 35 minutes of Scorpio. Scorpio represents the 8th house, right? So it's other people's resources. It is karmic entanglements and structures. These are things that could have been kept secret. These are psychological things that come up. So it's deep-seated things, right? Whether that's in our lives again, or things that we're seeing or we might see out in our communities. So new moon and the rulers, we're looking at the rulers that are in very interesting positions right now, very intense, interesting positions right now. It's recapping a little bit of what I just said, but we have the rulers of this new moon, Mars in the sign of Cancer in its fall, not happy in Cancer, very emotional. And we have Pluto there in Capricorn that I talked about, Pluto at 29 degrees. Both of these planets representing Scorpio in an opposition, which indicates that there is some kind of intense pressure to what? To create change. And it's emotional, and it is about making choices. It's, about whether or not we can balance this power struggle out and, maybe come together and discuss those things in a way that can move us forward, or whether that opposition, that Mars opposition to Pluto, is going to end up in, an emotional sort of confrontation, right? A lot of power in a Pluto Mars opposition. And, there's potential for this type of thing to go sideways. Why? Because we're talking about Cancer, Mars in Cancer, which is Cancer is ruled by the moon. So it is about our needs, and it is about our emotions, and it is about history, and it is about protection and preserving the rights of our homes and our homeland and our families, right? And our family's security. And this is about, this is about reflecting on the past. With Mars in Cancer, this is about potentially wanting to move on from the past in some way. And Pluto in Capricorn is kind of saying, well, it's time. We have to move past, because the old way of doing things is falling apart, but that opposition creates tension. So maybe it's not that easy for us to move on, and we're struggling with how to do that, or we're trying to resist that, or maybe it's an actual opposition with another party. Whatever it is, it has the potential to be explosive, but it has the potential to and the power to help us create that change if it's balanced appropriately. And so back to the new moon, what are we learning about the struggle that we're experiencing internally within our immediate environment, right? Within our own homes and our family or families, and how we are managing feeling under some kind of control or loss of control of what we always knew or what we always felt was our, was providing us with stability, right? I mean, I think we're seeing out there in the world that the things that we always relied on are no longer there to help us, just in our basic structures in the United States. It's like we can no longer rely on healthcare, having access to good healthcare. We can no longer rely on our banking institutions, those processes, or our governments. In many ways, I think we've lost a lot of us have lost a lot of faith in that. And so this is, what are we learning about how to move forward from this intense pressure that we could be feeling or seeing out there in the world, and what part are we going to play, and how are we going to play it, so that we can start coming up with new ideas. So the rulers in an opposition makes this a very intense time, and Mars in the sign of Cancer is going to go into Leo. In fact, it went into Leo today as I'm recording this, and it will retrograde in early Leo. It's going to retrograde in, I think, like 6 degrees of Leo, and then it's going to move back through Cancer. And as it moves back to its direct station point and then begins to move forward again, there'll be a back and forth potentially of, what we are inclined to do, how we want to express ourselves, and what are we dealing with in terms of the past, and how are we moving beyond that or preserving what it is that we need to do, all of those Mars and Cancer things. And this is going to be a period of working with this issue for up through April of this year, when Mars goes direct in Leo and then begins to move forward. So, and that is about 6 months. So this new moon is very important, right? What you're getting involved in, what's going on for you right now. There's a likelihood that there's going to be a reworking and a back and forth, and maybe even indecision and not sure which way to go or how to go about it, along with a lot of intensity between now and April. And Mars, when it enters into the sign of Leo, and then Pluto, when it enters into Aquarius on November the 18th, will again create an opposition, but this time in Leo and Aquarius. And so this is about how we're expressing ourselves and how we want to move forward. What is it that we have decided to fight for when it comes to what we need and what we want, what brings us pleasure, what it could have something to do with our children being Leo. But it's likely to be pretty loud, right? And that's going to be within the idea of Pluto and Aquarius, of moving things forward, right? That could be Mars and Leo, somebody as an individual bringing a group of people together, or squaring off, or, there's some kind of opposition, but it's wanting to move forward. And so we're going to experience that opposition between Mars and Leo and Pluto and Capricorn 2 more times between now and April. So how we set our intentions and what we are learning about this time period, and how deep we're digging into the structures and during this new moon is something that is going to potentially continue up through April, and it could be a very intense time of change. Like I said, Scorpio doesn't deal with anything superficial, so we're going to see this out in the collective, and we're going to feel this, and we're going to feel it. Mars and Cancer is emotional, right? All those things I said. Mars and Leo is very expressive and loud. So we could see transitions here, right? So, keep an eye out for that. Okay, so Mars, the ruler, is trining Mercury in the sign of Scorpio, which is bringing up these deep thoughts and ideas and conversations that, somebody is forcing for some reason, right? An emotional push to actually have conversations that need to be had about very significant things, about how we create change and how we transform things in our lives, even if this is just about how do we change our mindsets, right? Mercury in Scorpio can become very rigid and obsessed on an idea or some kind of action. And that trine there, whatever place, you're in, or however you're experiencing this, it's going to flow very easily. So keeping our minds open and maybe working with other people, or listening to the perspective of other people, right? That 9 degrees of Scorpio, it's like learning, might be able to help us if we're stuck in some kind of a mindset, get us out of it. But there's something here that's saying if we choose to move forward, that our emotional reaction to something can be positive, and it can help us create plans and have conversations and gather the data that we need to create profound change. And Mercury is trining Neptune in the later degrees of Pisces, 27 degrees of Pisces. And so, that could, it's a very intuitive, like this is a water trine. This could be something that's coming to you intuitively or just showing up and presenting itself. And, maybe you're realizing, this is happening for a reason. And there's something that I need to do or I need to say. Neptune can be otherworldly and intuitive. It can also be a little bit deceptive and idealistic. And whatever is going on in your life, or whatever ideas or conversations you're having, or how you're bringing people together at this new moon, or becoming a part of a group that's having conversations about how to create change and move forward, maybe it is viewed as idealistic. Right. But I say, anything that has ever been invented or changed, it always comes from an ideal. Right. And idealistic is not something that definitely Pluto and Capricorn has supported for years and years, since 2008. It's all about, practicality, right? Only the things that we can see and touch. Those are the only things that make sense, so this could be these are very idealistic, potentially new and different types of ideas and conversations that are designed to create change, but change that will hopefully affect everybody. Pisces is about the collective unconscious. It's about realizing that everybody is connected, and Neptune dissolves those boundaries and lets us know that, there are things that we need to do, and the way that we need to look at change is a way that will hopefully break down those barriers and allow everybody to understand one another, or at least respect one another and what we have to say. And so that water trine will help those things flow naturally if we choose to have to take on a productive approach to this. And that all depends. This water trine could also be about, letting go of something, actually ending something, and doing that in a very emotional, aggressive way. If somebody is struggling, right, they've got the opposition. Let me just give you some examples. Somebody's struggling, their back is up against the wall. They're trying to take care of their family. Mars and Cancer, emotional security. This could be somebody who, feels like the world is against them and gives up. So there's a really heavy mental health piece here too, about how, regarding how this might play out for different people. And of course, it all depends on what's going on in your chart. But, people could be experiencing really difficult emotional situations. And the new moon in Scorpio is addressing, how do we move on after a loss even? That's a significant transformation. And let's not forget that Scorpio is the planet of death as well. And, some people are experiencing that. And it's like they're left with, well, how do we move on from that? How do we process those emotions? And maybe the coming together is an intimate coming together, for folks that have experienced losses in their family. It could be something like that. But, we could see some extreme things out in the collective as well. Hopefully that's not the case, but it's possible. But used positively, and I think for some people who intuitively understand that profound change is needed right now, and paying attention to who's coming into your radar here. Who do I pull together? What needs to be changed? Who can help me? How can we sit down and understand one another's positions? When we talk about that Sabian symbol, it's about fraternities and comrades, and that could be the old and the new, and how do we transition from one to the other in a peaceful way, right? In a productive way. And that could be what this is about. A lot of these things could be coming up suddenly. They could come to you suddenly. Part of this new moon is Mercury opposing Uranus. And actually, that Mercury-Uranus opposition perfected before the new moon. So this could be, a sudden intuitive, message. Uranus can be, that, right? The fast-paced, higher mind, right? Intellect. Or this could have been an event, or shocking, surprising news or change in, Taurus things, something in our material life. It could definitely have been something financial, or just something that changed our material world that came on suddenly. So it could have been an insight, right, into, the things that we need to work on or discuss, or it could have been something that surprised us that actually said, okay, now it's time to figure out a new way forward, right? And this can happen in small ways. It can happen in big ways. And we should keep an eye out for what's going on out there in the collective as well, because I think we're going to see a lot of this, some of these things coming. Now, we also have this new moon trining Saturn, which is positive. Saturn in the sign of Pisces, which is currently retrograde, but it's coming out of its retrograde this week. And Saturn is, about our responsibilities and our work and the boundaries that we set and our integrity in terms of what? Piscean things. Realizing that, we need to work towards something that is going to affect all of us because we are all connected while being boundaried, right? Or creating some kind of structure, out there in the collective. It's like Saturn and Pisces is things like healthcare or, social service work or mental health work. So this plan, right? This plan, or these people that are the change that we have come to realize we need to make, or is upon us and we're being forced to make, is the trine to Saturn is how can we work it out? How can we work it out in a positive way? Something that's very likely sensitive and emotional. We have the tools there to do that. This new moon says it's a new beginning, transformation. We're learning about something, and Saturn can provide the stability to do that. Can provide the emotional stability as well as the ability to concentrate on what the real work is. So that's positive. And I think I think with Saturn being in Pisces since last year, we all probably know, and of course it depends on where it's hitting in your chart, what we're working on in the Pisces area of our chart. And that's not always easy to identify because it can be so many different things. And it can obviously be because things are passing away, or there are hardships or confusion around what it is that we're really supposed to be doing. And it almost just seems like things are happening around us, like everything is kind of maybe for some people just sort of falling apart or changing and morphing into something that we may have never imagined or really don't understand. But some of us may have a handle on or an idea on what those things mean to us or mean for us, right? And it will, wherever this is transiting, Saturn in Pisces is transiting in your chart, can help you identify that. So what else can help us navigate this? Well, we have Venus in the sign of Sagittarius. Big, bold, immutable fire sign, very optimistic in many ways, ready to reach for the stars, gain its independence, searching for truth, wanting to sort of fill itself up with love and fun and relationships and security. Yep, Sagittarius can have a tendency to go too fast, too big. That would be something that we would want to be careful of. But I think that the opposition to Jupiter in the sign of Gemini gives us a little bit of a uplifting. We can choose to look at this or to distract ourselves from this within this opposition. So it just depends, right? It's up to you. Do we want a distraction, or do we want, help and assistance in being able to look at things from different angles and, open up our mind and find different pathways, right? I mean, listen, if we're coming together and we're talking about deep-seated things and we want to fall back on this Venus Jupiter opposition, but yeah, it's an opposition, so it can be tense, but it's an opposition with the two most benefic planets, right? So I think this is more, we can get through these conversations if we're a little more relaxed. We can get through some of things if we use a little bit of humor. We can get through some of these things and, have those discussions to create that change if we are realizing that there are many options, right? There are many options that we can choose from. There's more than one way to solve a problem. And remember, Jupiter rules Pisces, right? So yes, it's in a square to Saturn. It's not really. I mean, it's a wide square. Jupiter is retrograde, so it's applying to Saturn. But so there might be a little bit of frustration there in terms of how we grow there. But we've been feeling that, and that Saturn Jupiter square is, going to keep hitting us here for a little while. But Venus coming into the opposition during this time may help us open up our minds and sort of not take at least the things so seriously. I mean, we're dealing with serious issues, but I don't know if you guys know what I'm talking about, but it's like you can take a serious issue and really it becomes so intense that something's about to blow up, even if you're working with a group of people. And just one little break in the monotony, or break in the, where you can the air around you, like, where you can cut the air with the knife, that, when you're in a situation like that, just one little deviation or softer way of expressing something or finding the humor in something can change the course of how things go. And I think we have that energy at our disposal here that can be super helpful. Keep in mind that, we're still under a Chiron square here, especially to Mars. And that's, we're wanting to heal something. We're feeling some kind of personal pain, however that may show up for you. And it's becoming more intense and emotional, and it's becoming, something that we realize we have to do. We have to change the past, right? We have to protect. And this could have something, it's emotional, right? This is our emotional body internally. So that square is there, which just adds, to the intensity of the Mars-Pluto opposition. But we're healing, right? And again, Aries has a tendency to be impulsive, and it's feeling this. It's just like, ooh, ouch, that hurts. I just want to feel better. I want to go take care of it. I want to, and that energy can be used as motivation. Yes, I've got to take care of this. My family needs me, Mars and Cancer. I need to protect something, Mars and Cancer. So it can be expressed, a square can be expressed positively. It actually, sometimes, especially for folks that don't have a lot of cardinal energy, it's like that wounding, which likely has a history, can be used to actually give us the sort of kick we need to get into gear and start making moves. Or there, it can be aggressive, right? The idea is that if it's not optimal and we're thinking about, whether or not what we do is going to have a positive long-term effect, which Aries doesn't do very well, it's best to just hold, right? Hold our ground and not do anything. And that's what the square is. It's like either the square is going to push us through tension to take an action of some sort, or we've got to hold and wait, right? Yes, we've got to hold that tension until the time is right. But Mars is ruling the North Node. And we know that the North Node in Aries is all about moving in a new direction, right? In a direction that will help us feel free and empowered and strong. And this Mars-Pluto opposition is part of the North Node. What the North Node is making very loud for us these days, right? So again, North Node Aries, the energy and being active enough and brave enough and courageous enough to forge a new way forward, and to really do that from our heart, right? I mean, Aries, when Aries does things like, it's just a snap of the finger, yes, but it's because it hasn't thought about it, it hasn't overthought about it. It's like, oh, I really feel that, it's passionate. I need to actually take action. I need to start that new thing. It's going to make me feel good. Hopefully it makes others feel good, right? The opposition South Node in Libra. And if not, then, I'm breaking a pattern of worrying too much about what other people think and not so much about myself. And that's going to be different for everybody too. But this new moon has to do with all of these things. One of the rulers is Mars. It rules the North Node. It rules Chiron. We talked about the opposition to Pluto and everything else there that is going on. It's a lot going on. So you may have had a lot going on last week. Over the weekend, you may still be feeling it. Pay attention. Like what is going on for you, right? Are you reconnecting with people? For me, I'm going to take the chart down here. For me, this new moon happened right on my vertex, right? Which is in the 5th house for me, which is the house of creativity, expression, taking risks. It's the house of children. It's the house of romance. It's the house of, any kind of creative projects, even, self-employment. So the vertex is something that is faded, and I saw it coming and I'm like, oh, I really need to make sure or pay attention to who I'm coming in contact with. Right? Are those the people that I come together with? And when you have a vertex is faded. So this is something that maybe I agreed to do before I came here, or that I'm destined to do with other people, some kind of change. Maybe it just means it's a change in how I express myself, or there will be a change when it comes to my children in some way, or, how I do romance, right? Or a new romance. Now, when we're talking about the vertex, and not everybody's getting hit, where the vertex is in this thing, but for me, it was hitting my vertex. So I'm just thinking, it's like, take a look at your chart. Like, is it hitting anything for you? If you have early degrees of Scorpio, Taurus, sorry, oh blank. Any of the fixed signs, Scorpio, Taurus, Aquarius, Leo, you're going to feel this if they're in the early degrees, and Cancer and Capricorn, and Aries and Libra. Why? Because that's where the rulers are, those cardinal signs, the Mars-Pluto opposition. So look and see, is it hitting any place in your chart within, a couple, 2-3 degrees, or an angle even. This could have come on very quickly. You could really be feeling it. But for me, it was the vertex. And so when we're talking about the vertex, there's an anti-vertex too. So I'm looking at Taurus, right? So my vertex is 10 degrees of Scorpio. So the anti-vertex is 10 degrees of Taurus. And I'm like, wow. So the last time I had a significant encounter with my vertex, it was something else. It was profound. It was very Scorpio-like. Scorpio and Taurus like. So I'm kind of looking around going, ooh, what's coming down the pipe? This is a big project. This is a big change. So take a look in your charts and see where Mars and Pluto, the rulers, are, and where this new moon is hitting, and think about what kind of changes need to be made in your life, or what can you participate in, or how can you pull people together to create some kind of change as an old structure falls apart, or because we see the way we've always done it is not good and it needs to change, but there's resistance and we have to come together, compromise maybe a little bit, or work together to create some kind of change that does what? Move us into the future as a collective. It creates some kind of progress, right? Pluto in Aquarius, because that's where it is going at the end of this month. Going to be interesting. And sit back this month. November, a very interesting month astrologically. I think it's going to be very interesting for us to watch out in the collective. And even if you're not experiencing any kind of profound change or death or transformation, we're going to see some stuff out there in the collective. So you might want to get your popcorn if you're in a position where it's not affecting you as much and you're able to relax. But this is really something that I think a lot of us are going to feel. And if not, we're definitely going to see it. So let me know in the comments what is going on for you. What has been happening in your life? What are you being pushed towards? If you're not sure, get a hold of me. I would love to read your chart and help guide you through it in some way. Now, there's a lot more to come. I guess I could go on and on and on. So I'm not going to do that. But I hope this was helpful. Thank you for being here. Like, subscribe, and share if you haven't already. I will see you soon. Sorry that this video was late. Many, many apologies for that, but thank you for your understanding. And I will see you next time. And until then, may the stars forever be in your favor. Bye for now.